Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're not just looking at a basketball court. We're diving deep into the anatomy of an absolute obsession. We're going to explore how one athlete's psychology, his relentless, unapologetic drive for excellence, didn't just transform a sport, but actually went on to inspire millions of people all over the world. You know, the difference between ordinary people and absolute legends? It's not natural talent. It really isn't luck. And it definitely isn't perfect timing. The real difference is found entirely in what a person does right after things completely fall apart.
So think about this for a second. What if your absolute biggest failure became the exact reason the world ended up remembering your name? I mean, really imagine standing in a crowded, echoing high school gym. You're watching your peers celebrate, and your own dreams just seem to vanish into thin air. Imagine believing you've worked incredibly hard, only to be told right to your face that you simply aren't good enough. For most of us, that kind of devastating moment, that's the end of the story. People pivot, they protect their egos, and they just settle. But for the young athlete we're talking about today, that crushing moment was literally the starting line for his greatness.
He was actually cut from his high school varsity team. To this day, it remains one of the most famous rejections in sports history. Picture that teenager walking home, just carrying this massive, crushing weight of public embarrassment instead of a victory. But, this moment reveals a really profound truth. Champions experience deep disappointment, insecurity, and flat-out rejection just like the rest of us do. The difference is entirely in how they respond to it. Michael Jordan didn't just brush it off. He let it hurt. He let it embarrass him. But instead of letting that failure become an excuse to quit, he captured it. He used it.
Part 1. The gift of failure, turning disappointment into fuel. Jordan later explained that this high school rejection completely haunted him. But here's the genius part. He used that ghost to wake himself up for early morning practice sessions long before anyone else even stepped foot in the gym. He wasn't relying on motivation. Let's be real, motivation depends on temporary emotions. It's about how you feel on any given Tuesday. Instead, he relied on discipline, which depends entirely on daily decisions. Most people will work hard when they feel inspired, right? Or when the crowd is watching and cheering. Jordan worked relentlessly whether that inspiration existed or not. He simply refused to waste a single day. When you rely only on motivation, your progress is always going to be a roller coaster. But when you rely on discipline, improvement becomes inevitable. Championships absolutely aren't won in the final dramatic seconds of a game. They are forged in a cold, empty gym when nobody is watching. Part 2. Preparation defeats fear. Building genuine confidence.
By the time Jordan reached college at the University of North Carolina, he had come to a pretty profound realization. For a lot of top athletes, just making a prestigious college team feels like crossing the finish line. But Jordan understood that past achievements meant absolutely nothing in this new arena. He was back at square one. Nobody owed him playing time and nobody owed him respect. And this mindset built a foundational understanding of what true confidence actually is. Confidence is simply evidence of consistent preparation. It's not positive thinking. It's not wishful thinking. People always assumed Jordan was just naturally confident, like he was practically immune to pressure. But real confidence isn't magic, guys. It's earned. His absolute lack of fear under pressure came from the fact that he knew exactly how much unseen, agonizing work he had put in. Pressure couldn't frighten him because preparation had already defeated that fear. Think about it. If you walk into a room completely prepared, you're confident. If you walk in relying on a wing and a prayer, anxiety takes over every single time. The years that followed really map out the staggering long-term payoff of that kind of relentless discipline. We start with that crushing 1978 high school rejection, and then fast forward to 1982, hitting the famous NCAA championship game winning shot. Thousands of people watched him take that shot under immense pressure, and a lot of them called it lucky. But it wasn't luck. It was revealed preparation. Then, entering the NBA in 1984, he eagerly stepped into a faster, much more violent and difficult environment because he knew fundamentally that growth only lives way outside of your comfort zone. And finally, culminating in 1991, capturing that elusive first NBA championship. It didn't happen overnight. It took over a decade of trusting a brutal, unyielding process. Part 3. Talent reaches its limits, the pursuit of excellence. When Jordan first entered the NBA, his incredible individual talents, those gravity-defying dunks, immediately attracted massive media attention. He was racking up lucrative individual awards left and right, but something deeply frustrated him. He quickly realized that all those personal stats and all that media praise were completely empty if they didn't lead to collective team success. He lived by a very simple, very aggressive rule. Talent reaches limits, but learning never does.
Throughout his early career, he constantly, relentlessly attacked his own weaknesses. If his defense wasn't up to par, he drilled defense until he was the scariest defender in the league. If his physical endurance was lacking against rougher teams, he practically lived in the weight room during the offseason. Average performers try to hide or protect their weaknesses because admitting them bruises their ego. But Jordan had this aggressive growth mindset where he believed every single weakness was simply a target lock for improvement.
To actually transform from a solo highlight reel star into a true dynasty builder, he had to make a painful psychological shift. He knew that scoring 40 points a night wasn't going to build a dynasty. So he had to execute 3 crucial changes. First, he had to trust his teammates, realizing that absolutely no one wins at the highest level alone. Second, he had to lead by grueling example. Truly great leaders don't ask others to work harder than they do. They set the blistering pace. And third, he had to raise the collective standard. He had to shift his entire focus from elevating just himself to elevating absolutely everyone in the locker room.
Part 4, the standard of excellence, building the dynasty.
This brings us to the era of the legendary Chicago Bulls. Now, Jordan's leadership wasn't always gentle. In fact, he made his teammates incredibly uncomfortable to force their growth. He demanded absolute perfection in every single practice and every single film session. Growth is deeply uncomfortable, and he flat out refused to accept average performance from anyone wearing the same uniform. Why? Because while an average achiever relaxes, pops the champagne, and coasts after hitting a major milestone, a true champion sets a new, even higher goal immediately. When the Bulls finally broke through and won that first championship, Jordan didn't celebrate it like it was the finish line. He asked a very dangerous question. Okay, what comes next? He stayed ravenously hungry, refusing to let yesterday's victories reduce today's effort. And the result of never ever settling? 6 NBA championships. But that number isn't just about trophies. It truly represents a mastery of simple fundamentals repeated over and over and over again in the dark. Jordan never believed he was above the basics. Actually, the better he became, the more seriously he treated the foundational skills of the game. Champions are really just ordinary people who stay committed long after everyone else has decided to go home. Right in the middle of this unbelievable run, at the absolute peak of his physical and mental powers, Jordan completely shocked the world by retiring. Life forces unexpected, seismic changes on all of us, right? But his stunning exit and his subsequent legendary return to basketball a year and a half later proved a vital point. True confidence comes from who you are, not just what you do. Coming back wasn't easy. The game had changed, his body had changed from playing baseball, and the expectations were just astronomical. But his response, focusing entirely on preparation and trusting the work, dictated his future. And sure enough, the championships returned right along with him.
Part 5, the ultimate legacy, lessons for everyday life.
Michael Jordan's story is a brilliant blueprint for business leaders, students, entrepreneurs, and really anyone trying to achieve something difficult. And at the absolute core of that blueprint is this realization. Failure is feedback, not identity. When Jordan missed a game-winning shot, and he missed plenty of them, he didn't let it destroy his self-worth or define his character. He just prepared for the next one. He treated mistakes as temporary data points to learn from, not as permanent tattoos of his worth. This exact mindset is what built his extraordinary mental toughness and resilience. Failure isn't your enemy, guys. Failure is simply your education.
So if we distill the Jordan mindset down to its core elements, this is what it looks like. Turn criticism into your ultimate fuel. Let your results speak infinitely louder than your arguments. Choose cold, hard discipline over fleeting motivation. Over-prepare so you can earn genuine, unshakable confidence in whatever room you walk into. Welcome the difficult challenges that absolutely terrify other people, because comfort is the enemy of growth. And above all, choose excellence daily, because greatness is never an accident. It's a conscious decision repeated day after day after day. I want to wrap up this explainer by throwing a direct challenge right back at you. What is one habit you can improve today? Not tomorrow, not next week when the timing feels a bit better, today. Success doesn't arrive in a single dramatic moment with a roaring crowd. It grows quietly through thousands of small decisions made with singular purpose. You don't have to control where you start, and you definitely don't have to avoid failure. You just have to make one decision: never ever stop improving. Thank you for joining me on this explainer. Take this mindset, apply it to your own journey, and I'll catch you next time.